Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
It's time for another daily dose of Dismal Disney. Something is going on at Disney. It feels like Disney is very desperate because they're restructuring Imagineering. They're bringing back a longtime head of Imagineering to head up the company again, which sounds like they're going to make some new attractions. And Josh D'Amaro, who is in charge of Disney World, is actually out there doing damage control over the Reedy Creek debacle. Something is up. This feels to me like panic. I could be misreading the tea leaves, but this feels to me like panic to have all of this stuff happen pretty much all at one time. We're going to talk about it. All this stuff broke today. All this news broke today. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, over 297,000. Almost 300,000. And Geeky did a video earlier today about the Galactic Starcruiser.
It did.
That they're, and again, all this stuff is happening at the same time. They're cutting back on the voyages because they're not filling this thing up.
Right.
Now they're restructuring Imagineering, and they're bringing a guy back who left in 2016 to head it up.
Yes, it's weird. Are they gonna bring Joe back too? I
am wondering because there was a big push a couple of years ago to push out a lot of the classic Imagineers, the guys who built a lot of the attractions that are, you know, attracting people to the parks. And I have to wonder if they're not feeling the pinch because of Universal. I mean, Universal is like really going at it with, Super Nintendo World. They're going to be building more
Epic
Harry
Universe,
Potter.
and there's going to be Harry Potter, How to Train Your Dragon. There's going to be, there's going to be Universal Monsters. Yeah. Super Nintendo, and then there's some other areas they haven't announced yet.
Yeah, and, at this point, it seems like Disney is kind of really taking their sweet old time on getting things finished.
They usually do, though. Like, it took them how long to do the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train?
Oh, Fantasyland was like 5 years or something?
It was ridiculous.
Guardians, how long's Guardians been?
Guardians, but I mean, you had the pandemic in there too, but yeah, it took quite a long time.
Funny though, Universal could still build the Velocicoaster.
Well, that's just it. Universal kept working. And it wasn't like a mandate that they said they couldn't. Disney just chose not to.
Yeah, so I think Disney was trying to save money, and I think part of the reason, my personal opinion, part of the reason that they pushed a lot of Imagineering out was to save money because these guys were very well paid, and it seemed like they were kind of putting their Instagrammable Imagineers front and center, or their DEI Imagineers front and center, and the attractions honestly have been pretty lackluster, except for Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think was actually being developed like years ago.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, we have Tron opening on the 4th of April. It is a clone of the other attraction in China. Same with Ratatouille. It's pretty much a clone of what was in Disneyland Paris. So we're not getting a lot of new things. Guardians of the Galaxy was a new thing. It had a lot of stuff that was patented and things like that. But yeah, and then when you talk to, I did an article yesterday and they were talking about how Josh D'Amaro was like, it's the tip of the iceberg of what's coming, meaning Tron, of what's coming to Disney parks. But then when people were like covering it, they're like, yes, because we're getting the retheme of Splash Mountain to Tiana and the Moana Journey of Water walkthrough attraction, where it's basically a walkthrough path with interactive water things. It's like, it's not really it's not a ride.
Well, look at what happened, and we'll talk more about Josh tomorrow, but look what happened with D23, where they couldn't say, hey, we're going to definitively do these really cool things we're hinting at.
Maybe possibly, maybe
Zootopia, maybe, hey, Bob Chapek, will you let us spend the money on that? Maybe, possibly, I don't know.
I put this on the article I did yesterday. I mentioned that as well. And I'm like, these are all, blue sky, bullshit that they were spinning during D23. And it was like, we're mentioning all these properties. What's beyond Big Thunder Mountain and all this other crap. But there wasn't anything confirmed. Pretty much the only thing that we got that was confirmed was a Figment meet and greet for later of 2023.
Yeah, when all people they want some variation of the original ride
Well,
back.
There's rumors that they're going to do something with that, but we'll see.
With the Muppets, maybe.
Well, I don't know. Now that, everything's coming around and biting them hard in the ass, they might have to pull their heads out of that ass and try to make this work.
If they would do a new version of Journey into Imagination with Dreamfinder and Figment, updated, with like a trackless ride system, I think it would be a slam dunk. I think people would love it. And if you're going to do the Muppets, do it next door in a theater. Do something.
Yeah, because the theater's right there.
Yeah, because they're talking that they're going to eventually tear down Muppet Vision. I'm like, then do a new 3D Muppets movie, and put it next door in the theater. So you've got the Muppets next to Dreamfinder and Figment. But by God, that Journey into Imagination should have been Epcot's version of Haunted Mansion, like a perennial favorite that moves a lot of merchandise. And I think
it was until they ruined it.
And I think they're starting to see that with, Figment being so popular with merchandise.
Remember a few years ago, they were going around doing a survey to ask people if they even still cared about Figment. But then they've been making Figment front and center of all of their festivals, and people love Figment.
Yeah, so I think the popcorn bucket, honestly, I think
you're right.
Stupid popcorn bucket might have solidified Figment in the parks, but whatever's going on, they're making some moves, and I do think this is in reaction to Universal, because Disney has been resting on their laurels for years, and the only thing that makes them move is when they get some actual competition, and
it hurts them in the wallet.
Yeah, and look at like how many years there was nothing new in Disney parks until Harry Potter came along, and all of a sudden here comes Pandora, here comes New Fantasyland, here comes and then they kind of cooled off a little bit, and now it's like, oh, Super Nintendo World's coming, guys. You better get with the program. So this actually dropped today that Walt Disney Imagineering is snagging Chief Creative Officer Bruce Vaughn back from Airbnb. He left in 2016, and that really a lot of people would say 2016, 2017 is when they kind of stopped announcing new projects.
Well, no, 2017 they announced a whole shit ton.
None of them happened.
And then that's one thing I also mentioned in that article I did yesterday was the fact they announced all this stuff. Like there was a Pixar Play Pavilion, Mary Poppins attraction. All these things are probably designed, when he was there. They didn't announce him yet. They were going to retheme Spaceship Earth, which I don't think was a good idea.
No.
And a lot of other things they were going to do. And then when the pandemic hit, it all just disappeared. And we were supposed to have this big festival pavilion at Epcot.
Yeah, they announced some pretty cool stuff, but it seemed like that's when all the new, they had that one last push in 2017 where they announced a whole bunch of Blue Sky stuff, and then half of it got canceled.
Yeah, we did get Guardians.
Yeah, but Guardians, I think, was already in development years before that.
They didn't. That's when they closed. The 2017 is when they closed down Universal Energy and then started switching it over. So it was in development, obviously, but that's when they started doing it. It was well underway before the pandemic hit. Tron, same thing. It was all 2017. All the drawings and the preparation got announced.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. So yeah, they said Vaughn's been at Airbnb for a year and a half, leading experiential creative product team. What the hell does that even mean? I don't know. Anyway, he said he previously co-led WDI as chief creative executive for 9 years, where he worked on projects across the company, including the renovation of Epcot Spaceship Earth early on in his career. So that would probably be the current version.
Dench one,
the Judi Dench one, which is it's okay.
It's not as good as Jeremy Irons.
It's probably better than
the ending. What the hell is the ending? Yeah. If you rode Spaceship Earth and you've ridden it before, the most recent iteration, they really need to do something about the ending because it sucks and it doesn't work half the time. But it always just sucked.
So here's his letter.
This is what Josh D'Amaro sent out.
Josh D'Amaro sent it out talking about him coming back. Welcome back, Bruce Vaughn.
Well, they're reorganizing Imagineering.
Yes.
Which how is this going to play into the new the space they're doing over at Lake Nona?
Well, that's a whole. They mentioned that Nona. That's kind of dropped off the radar. They're apparently still moving forward.
Well, they had there's plans that have been submitted, and they're supposed to start working on construction on Lake Nona. So is this reorganization going to be that they're sending people to Lake Nona?
I think they're going to. I actually think they were going to, because we'll read the letter and then we'll go out and see if WW News Today has more info on. But yeah, this is coming from Josh D'Amaro, and we're going to talk about that because he's going out there making the rounds, trying to do damage control.
Which we're going to talk about, yeah.
Yeah. As Bob Iger says, creativity is the heart and soul of who we are and what we do at Disney. In fact, as we look at our company's 100-year history of bringing captivating and memorable storytelling to life, the consistent thread that binds us together. God, this is so Disney. The consistent thread that binds us together as a company across all segments is our ability to drive innovation through creative projects, which ended for years. They really weren't announcing much of anything. In Disney parks, experiences, and products, we continue to invest in new endeavors that deliver the most compelling experiences, immersing our guests around the world in the stories they love the most. In the past few years, we have found ourselves at the crossroads of a wave of new technology and politics. I mean, a seemingly unlimited number of new stories and franchises, allowing us to develop groundbreaking new experiences. Of course, none of this comes to life. You could just put a period there. Of course, none of this comes to life without a strong commitment to creativity and innovation by the amazing team at WDI.
Yeah, WDI is... you cannot stress the importance of WDI in Disney.
And a lot of people were upset because it seems like it used to be that we got things like the Haunted Mansion and Journey into Imagination and the Enchanted Tiki Room and Small World because they were all products that came out of WDI.
They were allowed to be creative. Let them do their damn job.
Like most of the beloved attractions at Disney were not based on the shows or the movies. They came strictly out of WDI.
Right, but now they're trying to IP everything.
I hope they go back to... I would love for them to go back to actually creating original
They're probably not going to, because we already know with D23, they're probably restructuring, bringing this guy back to work on what's beyond Big Thunder Mountain.
Yeah.
It's Coco and... I forget. It was Coco and Encanto and Disney Villains, I think.
Yeah, whatever. With this in mind, I'm pleased to share that effective March 20th, Bruce Vaughn is returning to Walt Disney Imagineering as the Chief Creative Officer. That's really interesting. Bruce will co-lead the organization with WDI President Barbara Bouza, with both leaders reporting directly to me. But he is the creative officer. Together, Bruce and Barbara will partner closely to connect visionary creative thinking with project opportunities and flawless execution and delivery. Is this going to tie into the tour they took of Journey into Imagination? Is that one of the first things they're going to do?
I'm thinking they're going to. I really do. But I think that they had released a video with the Muppets. It was Gonzo, and I forget who else was riding through Journey into Imagination. Now, the joke was Gonzo was the guy did the voice of Gonzo, was the guy did the voice of Figment on the new iteration of the attraction. So that was, I know him. He's like, I know Figment. It's the same guy. Yeah, so I don't know if that was just a joke or it's odd timing because we know that DeMauro was touring during the Imagination with Bob Iger when he came back, and the president of Walt Disney World, which names escapes me real quick now.
They go through so many.
I know.
Quickly. Yeah.
I have to keep so much stuff, in my head at all times that sometimes I can't remember.
So I still think if it were me, Armchair Imagineer, if it were me, I'd fix Journey to Imagination. I'd keep it Figment and Dreamfinder, and then I'd put the Muppets next door, and then you can knock down the Muppet Theater and do something else because as much as I love Muppet Vision, it's really, really, really old.
Why couldn't you just put 2 attractions in there somehow, or do something with Muppets? Like they have the whole upstairs they don't use anymore.
Well, that's true. Yeah, they could have like the
or just redo the building.
Well, that had come up too. They thought that they were actually going to tear down the building at some point and just build a new pavilion.
But they do make sure you put the glass pyramid back on it, or it's not the same.
No. With significant developments already underway and more on the horizon, this dedicated focus toward creativity and innovation will help us deliver next level experiences well into the future. To best accomplish this, they will be working together to swiftly identify the most effective way to structure Imagineering. Many of you have had the opportunity to work with Bruce previously. He has a deep history with Imagineering, serving for more than 2 decades in leadership roles, including WDI R&D, as well as co-leading the entire WDI organization as Chief Creative Executive for 9 years. He left in 2016. And again, that coincides with the dearth in new announcements.
Yeah, we had a bunch of new announcements next year, but they always went.
And then, just a couple of years ago, they pushed, Joe Rohde out and a couple other, big wigs out to become the CEO and the CCO of Dreamscape Immersive, where he worked with teams of advanced virtual reality technologies.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. He's coming back. I think what's going on is this is panic because they know when Universal opens Nintendo and they add more Harry Potter, that it could be game over for Disney.
Again, when they talked to Josh tomorrow about, Tron at the Orlando Business Journal, they're like, oh, it's just the tip of the iceberg of what's to come. Yeah. The only thing that's coming right now is Moana, Journey of Water, which is a water walkthrough. Yay. And a re-theming, a reskinning of Splash Mountain. That's pretty much it at this point in time, other than the stuff they kind of teased at D23.
Yeah, so I think they're in full on panic mode.
Right, which all coincides with what he said yesterday. And now he's also saying some other things, Josh Tomorrow is.
Yeah, so this was an interview with the Orlando Business Journal, and people have taken away different things from it. WDW Newsday took away a different opinion than what I took from this. This basically sounds to me like they're willing to work with DeSantis's board as much as possible.
Well, we knew that because right away the president of Walt Disney World was like, "Hey, we're not, we're ready to work with them. We're ready to do what they, to do what they want. I mean, negotiate, to work together, to try to do better." I mean, he didn't they didn't fight it.
They're also, it sounds to me again like Josh D'Amaro is like everybody is welcome here. Everybody across the political spectrum is welcome here. This isn't a place for politics. You could have.
Well, that would be amazing because you go on vacation to get away from this shit, not have it forced on your throat again.
And you are smack dab in the middle of Florida, which is one of the most conservative states. It's not a terribly good look to be out there and be like, "Hey, we don't want conservatives, to come to Disney World."
I don't think it's good to push out anybody based on that.
So this is
unless they're behaving badly.
Oh yeah,
then I get it.
Well, like the guy who had the political signs on Splash Mountain or whatever.
You can't do that. It's a hazard. I mean, but other than that, they shouldn't be trying to pander. They should have listened and stayed out of politics, and they should have just done that. And they got the one guy they had that was there like a month, told him to stay out of politics. They didn't listen, then fired him. I replaced him with somebody who was heavily involved in the pandemic stuff.
So now Bob Iger, who caused a lot of problems, gets to come in and look like a freaking hero, right?
Mm-hmm. I would already write that. He is the one that was behind most of this.
So yeah, here we go. D'Amaro declined to get into the politics of the Reedy Creek district dispute, possible future political contributions, or if there'd be any legal challenge to the law. I don't think there's going to be. I think it sounded to me like they were kind of relieved, like, hey, we don't have to pay for the ambulances. Oh boy.
And they're going to continue probably giving to both sides like they did for years. Absolutely. And no one even bothered mentioning, oh wait, I did several years ago before all this stuff was a problem.
He said he's just making sure the parks and the cast members who keep it operating are in good hands, including the new district board's hands. The reality is we work with different people around the world at our different theme parks. So we know how to work with different people. For all those reasons, I have to look at the situation of where we're going. I believe in where we're going, and I hope the board sees the same. It's why he said he's optimistic about the park's future, and his message to the new board is that he hopes they understand the value the district and Disney create for the region and what's needed to keep that going. If that new board understands the value that gets created, basically don't cut anything, right? That gets created here and how it positively impacts the Central Florida community, I think they'll be aligned with our vision and will carry on the Reedy Creek soul. Then, he says, as for the guests visiting the local theme parks daily, D'Amaro said Walt Disney World still embraces the differences in the world and welcomes all kinds of visitors, regardless of their political backgrounds or other beliefs. That flag is something he's holding on to tightly as Disney embarks with the new district board, and that board's reportedly closely tied political viewpoints. Will there be noise on the outside? Will there be different points of view that we may not like? Sure. He said, knowing the company still will find success continuing to serve all types of people, even if their beliefs may be different.
Wow, what a concept.
I really believe that, so we're not going to get distracted.
You mean like it always was, or at least it was for the last, as long as I can remember, up until, 2014?
True story. Okay, again, having been part of Disney's approved media list. True story. Most of the people that I had contact with then, now this would have been 2016 through 2018, 2019.
But it would have been 2018, 2019.
Yeah. Most of the people I had contact with, the management level people, the PR people, et cetera, in Florida were openly conservative. I'm talking probably more than 80, 90% of those people were openly conservative. And how I know this is there would be small talk when we would go out for lunches, and we would go out for lunch. And when everybody's sitting around the lunch table and they're all talking about Fox News and Tucker Carlson, and they're all Disney employees, which is markedly different than how it goes down in California, by the way. I mean, California is the complete opposite.
Yes, but you were there too.
Yeah. So that's a totally different beast. But in Florida, I can tell you that it is predominantly conservatives at that time who worked at Walt Disney World. And I can almost guarantee you that a good majority of cast members currently working at Walt Disney World, given that it's Florida, are probably conservative.
I just think it's funny because everybody's like, go Clownfish TV, they're all right. And it's like at these meetings, what Neon's not mentioning is he'd be the one that didn't have much to contribute because he was the one that leaned left. So.
Yeah, it was really awkward because even our travel agent Spot, they were definitely conservative, and I'm sitting there like they're going on about Fox News, and I'm like, I don't even know who these people are.
No.
Nor do I care. Like, people don't understand. Like, I didn't give a shit. I still, to a large degree, do not give a shit about politics. The only time I care about politics in relation to this stuff is when it dominates the conversation. Like when you cannot talk about Disney without it becoming a political discussion. And then you have to comment on it because it's like all the news stories about Disney are about politics at this point. But it sounds to me like there's some panic at the Disney Mickey Mouse Disco.
Oh, is it panic at the Disney Disco? Yeah.
Mickey Mouse Disco is one of the greatest albums mankind has ever created. I freaking love that album. Macho Macho Duck.
Anyway. Oh gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, right. And it still has Zippity Doodah on it too.
Yeah,
so
it's also racist. Canceled.
But it's got the disco version of it, so it's really peppy.
It's peppily canceled.
It's peppily canceled.
That's right.
So yeah, I think this is desperation. Look at this, guys. They're bringing back old Imagineers. They're basically saying they're bringing back the old guard to try to reinvigorate the parks with a bunch of stuff they're already thinking about. Josh D'Amaro's like, yeah, hey, we don't want to get political. Let's just all, let's not get political here. We understand there are lots of different people. This is a very different Disney than even a year ago where they're like, well, if you don't like it, you can just suck it. Well, no, they didn't actually say that, but they basically were like, these are our politics and that is it. And it sounds like they're like, hey, let's leave the politics out of it. And I'm telling you, it's because of Universal. Mm-hmm. It is 100% because of Universal.
Universal is coming, and it's going up pretty quickly. I put an article up on Pirates and Princesses the other day, and if you go to Bio Reconstruct on Twitter, they often have aerial views of the construction going on at Epic Universe, and I put that up, and it's coming along quickly.
Yeah. Oh, Universal, they build stuff fast. They're like, hey, this roller coaster's coming. You're thinking, like in Disney time, you're like, oh, what's it going to be, like 3 or 4 years? And they're like, oh, no, like next month.
Yeah.
It's going to be up in like next month.
And they've always been beholden to the Orlando area and all the red tape and stuff like that.
In the city. They're in the city. And they get stuff done way faster than Disney. Mm-hmm. It makes you wonder.
So, yeah. So there's a lot going on over there right now. We have Josh D'Amaro talking about how this is the tip of the iceberg with Tron of new attractions. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, we have the guy coming back to Imagineering and the restructuring Imagineering to push Imagineering forward. We know that Lake Nona campus is being built, which is near Walt Disney World. And they're supposed to be moving Imagineering there, a lot of it. Maybe this person was more willing to move. And then we have, his statements about how they're working with the new board and how they want to keep it open to everyone.
And the Starcruiser, right? So you did the video about Starcruiser, and this is curious because at the time he would have been there, they would have been working on Galaxy's Edge. But remember, guys, the original version of Galaxy's Edge was supposed to be original trilogy. Yes. And that would have been on this guy's watch. And then they decided after The Force Awakens came out, which would have been 2015, 2016, about the time he left, not that they're related, but about the time he left, that they were going to change everything and make it sequel trilogy. Mm-hmm. Which
maybe
was
he told him not to. I don't know.
He might have said, hey, you guys are mental. Like the reason Harry Potter's doing so well is you can walk into the movies. You're basically walking into the set of the movies everybody knows and loves. And that's what people would have wanted for Star Wars.
And I understand what Disney was trying to do. They're trying to do like, oh, you can come into this new area and make your own story. Here's the thing. When people are presented with too many options, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but and then you're throwing all this stuff at them, and there's nothing they recognize or know, or it's like pseudo this or pseudo that. And then you're telling them, okay, go make your own story. And for some people, that's difficult. That's what's so great about these already contained stories and attractions is because I need to go here for this. I need to go over there for that. I'm at Galaxy's Edge. I'm at Star Wars. I'm going to go see, Tatooine. I'm going to go see the Mos Eisley Cantina. I'm going to go to, Hoth. I'm going to go to Endor. Things like that, things you're giving them all these options, say make your own story, and then people are like a deer in the headlights, like, what does that mean?
Yeah, because the Harry Potter is like you're kind of immersed in the world, and I'm sitting there thinking like, I know you will love this. How cool would it have been to go to Galaxy's Edge and be like, hey, it's almost time for the Ewok Yub Nub dance party.
Yeah.
And they all come out and they're
like,
all having
yes!
a dance, like, and they'd be all about it. The Yub Nub dance party.
I'd have the t-shirt, which I actually have a t-shirt. I'd have the ears, which I actually have Ewok ears. Oh my God.
You could do droids on parade. You could do, oh my God, Darth Vader shows up at noon every day.
No, but I'm just saying, they could have had things, they were originally supposed to have like blasters going off,
Yeah.
and they could have reenacted stuff from the movies, and people would have been about it, like they do at Harry Potter. You go to Harry Potter World, the 2 different areas over at Universal Orlando, and you're in Hogsmeade, you're in certain places, Diagon Alley. You're in places that you recognize, and you can still tell your own story, but the parameters have been narrowed. So it makes it easier to go see the things you want to see and tell your own story. Where I think having a whole new world with all new stuff, people are just overwhelmed, and they're like,
Yeah.
what do I do with this? What do I do with it?
And it's not recognizable. So you're like, I don't even know.
What do I do with this?
It's like, okay, here's a new character, blue-haired, whatever. Who is this? What? Oh, the Falcon. I recognize
I was
the
going to
Falcon.
say Falcon. Oh my God, something I know.
That's the only thing people recognize. This whole thing is the freaking Falcon.
It's like, I know this one. I got this one. So I think it's too much for some people.
Yeah, so we got to wrap it up.
Yes.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Go out to piratesandprincesses.net for more objective Disney news. Geeky runs that blog, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.